Well, good morning. So the leaves are starting to fall already in beautiful Southwest Missouri.
Yeah, that's getting.
Football's, started up. My team's terrible already. Two games in.
Who's your team again?
Denver Broncos. It's a
Okay.
long story, but yeah, there's always hope. There's always hope, and I know people listening out there, they get excited for this time of year, and a lot of
Yeah.
hopes are dashed. But yeah, so it was a wet summer here, a beautiful grass stayed green, but boy, it's turning quickly into fall. Leaves are just coming down by the bunches. So
Yep. It is. It's getting that time slowly, and then just one day. Usually we get that rain and all the leaves fall. Seems like all at once. But yeah, it's starting. I think it's in the 60s maybe this week. It's supposed to be in the 50s, low 50s next week, which is nice.
yeah, pretty
Kind of
soon
a
we're
good
gonna
transition
see
into.
our breath and come out the
Yeah.
front door. You're gonna see your breath
Yeah.
in the air. We got a fire going in the Sureglow studios here this
Yeah.
morning. A Pacific Energy Alderley stove, classic, and it is.
And how do you say the name of it?
I don't
The
know if
color?
Alderley.
No,
I
no, no.
think they
The,
said-
the,
oh,
the,
no, I don't remember. We'll just call it mocha.
I already forgot.
Yeah, no.
We've never said it the way.
Okay, well, somebody
Art
out
said
there
it today.
listening, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, will someone put that in the comments? But so this is heated discussions, and
Yeah.
that's a play on words because Derek Bell is the owner of Sureglow Stove and Chimney. But we do want to cover in our podcast, things that either upset, excite, exhilarate Derek Bell because his Southern Alabama upbringing can always bring out a lot of colloquialisms and fun stuff. So I guess today we're going to start out with something wood stove related, but we're going to move on to other things that are not related to that. Well, related or not related, but the EPA's mandatory, crackdown on wood stove, wood burning. To me, it just seems like as society modernizes, there's less and less people burning wood stoves. So why are the regulations continuing to increase
Right.
on people burning in their own homes?
Yeah, I think it's kind of that the what's the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So we have a minority of people probably in this country that are really up in arms about, saving the planet and tree huggers and everything else. And again, we want to be good stewards of what we've been, left. But at the same time too, I think just in general, the government.
They're trying to save the
It's-
planet.
yeah,
Trying to save
I mean-
the planet for people who have wood stoves.
I
in
don't
their
think
house.
it's so much they're trying to save the planet as they're trying to gain more control. Like, at the end of the day, they're just going to slowly regulate it to where, people it's just too aggravating and they just don't want to do it. I mean, like if you look at, some statistics, and this is, kind of making this up as I go, but,
That's always good.
yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of, there's still a lot of people that burn wood, right? There's still
number going down. I mean, it's a
Oh, for
tremendous
sure.
effort. You and me have cut down trees personally, split wood together, and stacked it. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of effort that goes into it. And with the onset of do nothingness and video game addictions and modern convenience, I'm just having a hard time understanding that. All right, why wouldn't the government just go, you know what, everybody, more and more, there's electric fireplaces being sold now, which I'm sorry if you own an electric fireplace out there. It's
We
not really my
sell-
tea, but
yeah.
like, well, I mean, so you would think that the usage is going down. They'd just be like, oh, don't worry about it. In a couple decades, no one's going to be doing it
Yeah.
anyway. It just seems like one more, let's just say it. Okay, this is why this is a heated discussion. It's one more mechanism of control
For sure.
to make sure that people can't be independent. Because if the grid goes down, or you just say, I don't want to use electricity right now, I don't want to be dependent on you, I want to burn a wood stove in my house, well, then you suddenly don't need the man anymore, don't you?
You can see the evolution even in the last probably 30 years. I mean, think about this. This is so true. The evolution from even like the 70s, right? So during the 70s, there was the oil crisis, and our parents talk about standing in line for getting gas. And that's when the slammers, the wood stove inserts became popular. It's a nickname, if you will, for the slammer in the industry for an insert with no direct connect pipe into it. But you look at that, the slammers, people were burning wood to save money, right? So we went from that, and then as people essentially have gotten lazier and technologies come about, we went from that to all of a sudden, gas logs became popular. And then we look at even pellet stoves, which is, again, you have a generation, not necessarily, but there's a lot of people that burn wood heat, maybe an aging generation, and like they're used to cutting firewood. They just can't cut firewood. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right? But still, the majority of the people realistically buy their firewood, and you can still get firewood really cheap, which is a great alternate source, which is why we're in business and sell a ton of stoves. But the pellets, you're still getting the wood heat, but then you're adding all the different moving parts and computer chips, and half those things come from China, and then they're not very reliable. Then we go even further, and we have electric fireplaces. And electric fireplaces, hey, like we sell them if you want it. I got it. I mean, if you're a shoe store and somebody wants, purple high heels, and you like sell hunting boots, if they want to buy the purple high heels, hey, I'll sell it to you, whatever, right? But like the electric fireplaces is kind of bizarre because it's
like purple high heels, isn't it? Yeah, like I think you would call it a heater, not a fireplace.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a stretch, right?
Yeah. I mean, so it's literally a screen, and they're beautiful. Recently, we were. One of the holidays we were at the lake, and we went in the place, we were like a VRBO or whatever, and they had an electric fireplace. Like, I don't blame them, because they're going to rent those things out. Half people are going to show up, trash the place,
what I saw?
burn a place down. It's like you hit a button and it comes on, it crackles.
But recently I saw water vapor.
Yeah.
So water vapor instead of flame, and they cast these lights on it. It is, so if anybody out there wants to Google this, water vapor for flame, I don't know exactly what the technical name. It is beautiful to behold. However, in Southwest Missouri and all over this, you get ice storms, you get power outages for a long period of time. That water vapor, and with those beautiful lights, the light isn't going to work. The thing isn't even going to work, and you're just going to be sitting there with some device jammed in your fireplace. You're going to have to rip out and just start cutting up your chairs or something and burning it in the fireplace to stay warm.
Yeah, it's like your Mac computer. It can do so much for you until there's no battery. You forget to charge it like Darren this morning.
It's this last like, hanging there, baby.
It has so much computing power in that thing, but like without a battery, it is useless. It's literally a rock, a cool looking rock. It's a paperweight. That's all it is. So we're seeing this full circle from utilitarian, cut down the tree, burn it, very reliable, simple, to give me easier, give me a remote, which is more problems. So it's like, I think eventually we're going to see full circle. We've already had a lot of things bad happen in this country. And I think, depending on where you live, a lot of people are waking up because either they've had a power outage, they had an ice storm here in 2007 or whatever. I grew up in the South, we had hurricanes, and it didn't take many times you've been without power and sweating to death, sticking to the sheets at night. That's not cool.
No, that's never
so
cool.
Like you buy a generator. You're like, well, I'm not doing that again. If you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
well, also there's the issue of just our aging infrastructure, and we're not putting the money back into the electrical, whatever, just our system.
Right.
It's more fragile than ever. And you've got more people around the world who don't like America, who want to cause us massive trouble. How hard would it be to blow up power stations or water stations?
I mean, look.
So we're fragile.
Yeah, Ted Koppel had the was it blackout? He did a thing and went before Congress, and they're saying if an EMP hit, all the stuff can happen. I mean, this is not like some sensationalism, conspiracy theory. This is mainstream, man. You can go to Costco and buy survival food. It's like,
what do you make of that? What do you mean? Why is there a survival food?
Well, I mean, even
popular enough to sell at Costco or Walmart now. Why?
How about this? Big companies don't let's back up a little bit further. So when you look at Walmart, you look at Costco, you look at end caps when you go in grocery stores, they don't just buy those products and say, hey, let's stick them on the end cap. Those companies have to pay to be in that spot. So it's like you're having to pay for that real estate to be able to sell product for them. It's pretty wild. But you look at that, and they're taking up retail space to do that. So obviously it means there's a demand. They're not just sticking stuff in there just to waste space. We don't waste space in here. We have a finite amount of space, and we fill it with things that we think our customers would want and they would ask for, that we can sell. Because guess what? We're in business to be profitable. This is not a 501c3. We're we want to be a profitable business. So with that, there's obviously a huge group of the population that are concerned enough are worried enough that they want to be able to go out and buy it. So that means that the buyers at Costco or wherever are seeing that, okay, hey, this is trending and people are buying these from this store and that store and that store. Hey, let's get in on this gravy train. Recently, Costco started selling gold. Wonder why? It's the same guy.
Don't they say that rats know when the ship's going down?
Yeah. Well,
are we scurrying around like rats because we know the end is coming?
Yeah. I saw yesterday on Tucker Carlson, he was one of his podcasts, which is really great. He was interviewing, I think it was a neighbor friend of his or whatever in Maine. He's got a place in Maine, and they were talking about burning wood, and like the guy's like, yeah, and he talked about how many cords of wood he burned and this and that. So there's still a huge population, man. All we see is, again, the greasy wheel, right? The squeak of that. All we see are the big cities and all the stuff and all the agendas, right? There's still a huge population of people, the salt of the earth people between the coast, the flyover states, that are still burning wood, that still have good moral values, that are, that are doing these things. They're looking around saying, like, things are getting weird, and I want to make sure that I can take care of my family.
And briefly, just on to Derek and I's history, up until just recently, had a 50-acre homestead myself with 40 Jacob sheep, and we were milking cows and supplying 50 families with raw milk and pasture free-range eggs. And I think I'm working to get back to that. It was a slice of paradise, man. Yeah. I'm serious. And I've been out and just seeing several of your places, cut wood with you and stack firewood, and seeing the homesteady-ish things, building the raised garden beds and everything. So, and you're looking to keep that kind of thing yourself. So it's not that we don't have experience in that kind of thing. So you mentioned just a couple of the Tucker Carlson talking about prepping, and we've got, so if there's restrictions on wood stoves, it's also interesting to me the push for electric vehicles too. How does that factor into this whole thing?
I think it's just the same. It's the same deal, man. It's the same circus. It's just a different act. You know what I'm saying? It's like everything they're doing is just another regulation, more control. It's the same with business, red tape, all the things they do.
But the manufacturers have such a struggle with that. I mean, we're mixing subjects here between electric vehicles and wood stoves, but in a way, it's the same. It's the same thing. So we know, Pacific Energy stoves, which are non-catalytic stoves, and you can jump into that as you want, but they're always trying to keep up with the regulations, and it's difficult for them to do it and get a good product. But
I think everybody's seen the meme. I don't know if it's not a meme, but it was like a video or a short where the guy's like in a Tesla and it's got the generator on the back.
Oh, right.
I mean, it's kind of a joke.
Tristan will have to insert a picture of a couple of those memes for us, our trusty videographer.
If we look at it, and again, obviously, I'm not an expert on this, but we're using fossil fuels, and all these plants are creating electricity so then you can go plug your, I mean, it's kind of the whole thing's kind of a joke, I think.
Well, okay, so to tie it all together, it's almost like there's these restrictions being put out that are not, either manufacturer friendly or end user friendly. So it's almost like we don't know best, and they're gonna enforce this to again save the planet.
I think we're still so early. Yeah, I think we're still so early on the technology. It seems like. I mean, batteries have come a long way, obviously.
Right, but it takes so much effort to get those car batteries. When they show these mines in Africa with children digging in, it's like, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a coal plant, or would you have these kids digging? I don't know. It gets complicated, but I guess the end result is it's extremely good time to buy a wood stove or a gasoline powered vehicle, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean,
while you still can
get them while you can. I mean, honestly.
Well, another topic that we were going to touch on was 15-minute cities. So what is your understanding of a 15-minute city?
I've heard about this. I've never done a deep dive, but from my understanding was essentially the Reader's Digest version was like, hey, we're going to get every huge populations of people in a small area where essentially they have everything they need. They don't need to venture out.
Kind of like hamsters when you have the big terrarium in their house, and you just they have everything they need. They got the wheel right there, right? That's the gym. The gym will be built in. You got the little water station, and you get and everybody's in that little clear plastic bin.
It's so convenient. I don't have to go far to work. Everything I need is just right here.
All right, interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you said the other day that it's almost being set up to the point where with electric vehicles or the cell towers or everybody relying on electric heat, that it gets scary when just someone could push a button and
Yeah.
stop it all.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like every now and then, like you have these conversations, people say, "Oh, you're fear mongering and this and that." It's like, do you watch the news?
I don't.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I really don't need
I
it. But
wouldn't. I don't recommend.
no, but I'm just saying. I mean, you
hear
can't
enough.
help but see what's going on around the world. Like, I mean, history repeats itself, right? And like again, we have an aging infrastructure. Not a little bit. It's not like, hey, it's like that's 1.0 and we're or that's 2.0 and we're whatever. It's just like this is aged like pretty crazy. I know every now and then when we hire business consultants or I'm learning about other larger companies and you kind of go behind the curtain. There's a lot of companies still, huge companies, healthcare systems that are using, software CRM programs that are completely antiquated. Like what? But it's just too big of a bear to change. It's going to cost too much money. They just keep doing the same thing. And it's just like now with AI, everything's happening so fast. It's like a company that grows too fast. You kind of you skip a couple steps, and now it's like, whoa, how do we manage this?
Well, sometimes you never let a good crisis go to waste. And sometimes to make
that, Timmy?
I don't know who said it. We'll use it today, but like if they're gonna make major leaps in infrastructure change or how people use cars or heat or whatever, then sometimes those are born out of crises.
I think too, if we were to take especially maybe our parents' generation and you were to tell them everything that was going on right now today, just the big topics of the day, and you took them from even 10 years ago, they would laugh at you. They were like, there's no way. There's no way. But again, it's kind of the
boiling frog.
Exactly.
Go ahead. What is the boiling
just
frog?
Like, you put a frog in a pot and you slowly turn the heat up and it just slowly changes to the point he just never hops out until the water's boiling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you throw a frog into a boiling pot of water, he's going to jump out. I don't know if it's true or not. This is what I've heard my whole life, so I'm going to keep saying it. So, but anyway, I mean, it makes sense. So it's like the slow fade. You're just transitioning into, because I mean, it's craziness going on right now. So I mean, yeah. So that to be able to say that, all the things we're talking about is fear mongering, man.
It's wars and rumors of wars and political upheaval and assassination attempts on former presidents.
Yeah.
And
I
mean, we're not making this up.
Yeah, exactly.
This is happening.
This is everyday. This is everyday stuff. And again, like when the news starts looking like more of a scene out of the Hunger Games than reality, you start, what's going on? Like, maybe I should pay attention.
Well, we say about wood stoves, it's an insurance policy that you can actually enjoy.
Yeah.
So right here, right now, is this on high or low, or how does that work on this? Can you? Okay, you shut the door.
Yeah. So the lever to the left's high start, which I had on. I actually had the door cracked. I just shut it. But
okay.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that again, this is kind of I've always loved wood stoves. Even before I got into this business. And the reason this is always comes up so much is because it is a centerpiece of preparedness if you really think about it. So like when we moved to the Ozarks, we knew a ton of people, your family, and most people when they're trying to like, hey, I'm going to simplify my life. I want to get back out in the country. I want to have some chickens and all the benefits of that, just raising children, and then to the preparedness side of it. But a stove's kind of the heart of the home, it's like this is a centerpiece. This is where we can heat things up, we can stay warm. We had a cook stove. We've got a Hiko cook stove over here in the corner. I've had that in the last two houses I've had.
I owned a Hiko cook stove. That's the heaviest thing I've ever carried in my life, but it was worth it to get it in, and it became the centerpiece. I mean, I remember cold mornings you get up, wow, you can cook cookies or soup or whatever, and the Hiko wood stove.
I think in the world we live in too, a wood stove represents freedom. I mean, if you really think about it, a wood stove represents freedom. I have it in my home. It does all these things for me. I can control it. I can cut firewood. I can stick it in there. You can't turn it off. Wi-Fi can't affect it. Not yet. All these different things. And it's kind of like that first step we see a lot of people, because again, we deal with a lot of people here that are moving in from the coast. There's great people all across this country, and they're like, hey, we're tired of California. Hey, we're tired of this or that, and they show up, and that's the first thing they want. Say, man, I want a wood stove, because a lot of people too have never experienced a wood stove and the heat from it. So again, this is kind of the symbolic first step of
representation of freedom,
and trying to take back what you can.
Energy independence.
Right.
I always say energy independence. Okay,
Right.
cool. All right. Well, it seems like I didn't get extremely heated. The stove did, but we didn't get too
Yeah,
heated.
it's finally heated.
We're trying not to be alarmists. I mean, I don't know for anybody tuning in and if they want to see us, I don't know, even get more upset or whatever. There was no real reason to get upset. You trust God, you trust in your own ability, and then you do what you can. You get the wood stoves. And actually, Derek and I, just to see if we could do it, we went in about a half an hour and built a device out of PVC and rope to be able to go down into a well just to get water out in an emergency. And literally from start to finish, going to the hardware store to buy the materials to actually bringing up water out of the well took an hour, I would say. That included the drive time to the hardware store.
I think people forget about it too. You know, obviously we sell wood stoves and chimney repair and stuff like that. There's so many more items in preparedness that matter, right? So I mean, it's one thing to like, hey, I don't want to get cold, I don't want to freeze this. Another thing, like, you're gonna die without water, right? So having an alternate source or water storage or whatever. And again, this is not like necessarily the zombie apocalypse. This is like 2007 ice storm that hit, and the majority of the people that live in rural areas have their own well. Well, if you don't have power, you don't have water. So if you don't have a hand pump, and those can they can break. I've had simple pumps on just about every house I've owned in the last 10 years.
I did too. I put one in. That wasn't easy, but yes, it gives you peace of mind to know that you can go out at any moment and actually you can hook up these pumps to your
and there's a process too. So like when you think about
pressure change,
there's a lot of people that think about, oh well, if times get tough or if the power goes out, I'll just I'll go out and hunt and I can do that. A lot of these ideas sound good, like sitting around drinking a beer or drinking coffee around the fire, but like in reality, if you don't have some, even with some basic preparedness, life's still gonna be really rough, right?
Very rough.
Like you're not making that contraption we made, and that was more, I saw it on a YouTube video. It's pretty cool, but it is a way to get water out of a well. But again, there's still a lot of work to that. Like if you had a well casing with a submersible pump that's dropped down, you still have to pull the thing out of the way. If you didn't have it, you're not gonna run out and make it, right? If you don't have the proper tools to pull it. So things sometimes sound great at a glance until you actually start trying to do it, and you're like, oh wow, that's a lot harder than I thought. And again, the people during the Great Depression, when all these bad things happened, they were already living on the farm. They were already raising their own food. They were already doing these things.
You're saying if people think that in a crisis situation, they're just going to go out and shoot a deer and get some wild greens.
We're changing subjects, but like, Tucker Carlson yesterday on that podcast I saw, I just went for a few minutes, and they were talking about deer populations, and he asked the host asked the guest what he thought about how long the deer populations would last. Man, let me tell you something. You get a bunch of rednecks out in the woods. Hey, it's 2000.
There's not going to be anything left alive. Maybe a couple beetles or something. But anything that has fur is going to be gone in a month.
2024. Do you know how many people have suppressors in this country legally? Do you know how many people have thermal imaging legally? Do you know how many people have drones legally? It only takes a second to fly a drone up and figure out what's where.
Yeah, heat sensors on the drone. You can pinpoint all the deer within.
Yeah, I'm just saying we're in a new era. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. So it's like it's ever changing time. So it's like, again,
the peace of mind that comes with a wood stove. It's an insurance policy you can actually enjoy. Bit of a plug for Sure Glow stove and chimney, but we're enjoying it right now. It's pretty awesome on this.
I think later today we're going to try to do. We're going to cook. We're going to cook on the Hiko. So I got some sourdough starter. So we're going to make some sourdough.
Cool. So Derek, we were just talking about electric fireplaces, which I think is kind of a strange term. It's too broad. Maybe they should be called something else. But how many different types of heat are available for fireplaces or heating a home now? What are people's options?
So I mean, I would say, and this is off the cuff, most popular, probably gas is the most popular. So then you got propane, which is generally in rural areas. Maybe you've got your own tank. They come fill it up.
Oh, been there, done that.
And those prices I mean, they just, depending on the
You want to
oil
buy that
price.
in the summer. You
Yes.
want to get your propane tanks
Yes.
filled in July.
Yeah, we have a ton of
If you
people
wait
call.
for winter, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, we have a ton of people call that they run out, then have to fill up at peak prices, and are like, forget this. I'm not doing this
If
again.
they even can get out to you,
Yeah.
then you have to wait. And maybe your tank is sitting
Yeah.
empty in the winter for.
Right.
I know that happened. To
Exactly.
someone I know.
There's a shortage, if something happens. So there's propane, then there's natural gas, which is, if you live like where we're at here, we're in Cassville, Missouri. It's a small town, but we have natural gas here. So our displays here run on natural gas.
I grew up on a farm with gas well on the property, so we could run our gas fireplaces as much
Really?
as we wanted. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
because we had a gas well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm familiar with those really. You don't see
Well,
those.
just
I don't think-
unlimited gas for your house because you have a relationship with the gas company
Yeah.
who's getting it off your property. So
Nice.
that
That's cool.
was a nice thing to have.
Yeah. So propane, natural gas. We sell a lot of natural gas stuff. It's convenient, right?
Yeah, you just flip a switch. Yeah, there's
you
nothing
flip
more
the
convenient
switch
than that.
until you flip the switch and it doesn't work.
Not a lot of wood splitting goes on
No.
with gas stoves.
And a lot of them can work without power. They have a battery backup. Then I'm not going to get on the vented and non-vented, but we're just talking about fuel sources, right? So propane, natural gas, wood is still super popular. I mean, like, again, there's wood everywhere. It's laying around in the forest. It's in your yard.
Well, we're gonna talk about the Hiko wood stove. We're actually gonna cook
Yeah.
some sourdough
Yeah.
bread or something.
Yeah,
like Both of us have owned the Hiko cook stove. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece, and it also burns coal in it. Right. So if I had a Hiko again, which I plan to again someday, I've got the coal ability, I've got wood ability,
Right.
and I can boil water on that. But then, heck, I would have a gas fireplace just for the convenience of that.
sure.
So I have both.
Yeah, we have a lot of customers that maybe there's a lot of basements here where we live. So if you're the upper floor, maybe you're just like, man, I just want to relax and turn that dude on and watch TV or whatever, put a little warmth out on extra cold days. Maybe you have a heat pump, electric heat pump. Maybe you have propane. You got propane cheap. You're running just every now and then. It's kind of a backup. But in the basement, we have a lot of people like, hey, I want the big boy down there. They don't care. They want a big honking stove. They can load that thing up with wood or coal, heat the whole house if power goes out, whatever. Which you mentioned coal. So anthracite is not your granddaddy's coal, right?
What is anthracite?
And I'm not an expert on this, but again, anthracite coal is cleaner. In fact, a lot of municipalities use it for purification of water, which is kind of wild.
The definition is the highest rank of coal.
Yeah. Okay. So so anthracite's very clean. Even when you touch it with your hands, it's not like dusty like charcoal. It burns. The BTUs are way higher than wood. It never goes bad. So essentially, you can buy this stuff. You could dump it in your swimming pool out there, and it can stay for 100 years. And you can pull it out and shake it off and go light it on fire and heat your house. So coal is probably, or anthracite is probably one of the most overlooked fuels in our country. It's very popular in the Northeast. It's not popular here. I don't know why, because it's a great source of heat. Again, so if you want to know what your power bill is going to be, just stock up on it. Newsflash, it's cheaper today than it's going to be next year, and so on. So you can buy this stuff at my last house. I think I had like 5 tons of it sitting there. I bought it. I had a Hiko. You can burn it with that, and it gets really long burn times. So that's a great, almost snatch my mic out. Then that's a great source of fuel. And then I would say last probably is just wood pellet. Wood pellet is great. You still get the wood heat. You get that hot, dry heat that people want from just a normal wood stove. Maybe, again, an aging population. They're just like, I want something convenient. It's wonderful until it doesn't work. That's one of the few things that we will not give. We have what we call our forever warranty here at Sugarglow. We do not offer a forever warranty for a pellet stove, because we know that
There's a reason why.
Yes, because they're going to call us on a Friday evening 2 hours away and say, hey, this is my only source of heat or whatever, and it's not working. So again, computer chips, most of them all come from China, tons of moving parts. They have their place. And again, you don't have to really worry about a flue fire with a pellet stove, and you definitely don't have to worry about a flue fire with anthracite. There's pros and cons to all of them, but those are probably the top, 3 or 4 categories of options for fuel.
Excellent. Okay, for our next heated discussion, let's talk about the upcoming election. Tristan, our faithful videographer, actually brought up this topic and said people are definitely concerned. I mean, we don't want to be fear-mongering, but it just kind of seems like it's very uncertain. These people have both been in power before. You'd think maybe that would ease our fears because they're known entities and their successes and failures. But I mean, I don't know, Derek, what do you think how's this election going to affect people? I mean, that's pretty broad.
Yeah, I mean, that's $1 million question. I think too, just right now, we have a lot of people just kind of in a holding pattern. They just want to wait and see what's going to happen. You've got one side of the aisle that, we think the generalities here, they think, hey, the interest rate's going to go down. People are going to let loose some money. And listen, there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. We talk to people every day. There's tons of people, hey, they're getting ready to build a house, buy property, start a business, buy a business, expand. And they're like, I want to wait and see what's going to happen. I think this is the most important election in the history of our country, for sure. It's very polarizing. There's a lot of...
We've all seen Mel Gibson in The Patriot, right? Where the people are gathering in the local pub or whatever to say we've had enough, and I don't care what it costs me. I'm going to make change. We're a long way from like.
Have you seen the meme? You've seen the meme? There's like it shows it like 1776, and it's like 2% tax increase, and it shows like 2024, and it shows the huge tax increase. And everybody's just playing on their phones.
Playing on their phone. It's almost like they want to distract everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Bread. Give them bread and circuses, and you can pretty much pass any kind of law over top of them. And that's the shame. I mean, he's going to have to get to the point where it's more uncomfortable to stay in the current system than it is to go out.
And we have such a short memory. And we have such a short memory too. And we're all guilty of this because it's like these events, these black swan events are becoming more normal now. Just with all the disruptions. I mean, how many times do you look at the news now or see something on a feed that says like, Bank of America has been, hacked or whatever, or it's your social security number. I mean, man, it's like that. You're like, oh, okay. It's just like every day, and we just so quickly forget, COVID just literally when COVID hit these, we're in the hearth industry, these stove manufacturers, man, people were buying stoves, any stove they could get, right? And then too, since COVID, obviously the whole workforce thing and how many people stayed at home, whole nother hot topic. But it's like people forget, man. It's like I tell people, hey, they ask about, well, they'll call and a customer call and want to know about a stove or whatever and give a price, and they think we're just trying to be salesy. I'm like, the best time to buy a wood stove, like planting a tree yesterday, because steel prices go up every year. Labor costs go up every year. Our insurance costs go up every year. One decision you don't want to put off till after the election is if you want a wood stove. Now's the time.
Or gasoline power,
or a backup water source, or some basic preparedness. Again,
we're one headline away from I can't get a wood stove anymore. Well, I mean, how about this convenient headline to really create a crisis? Let's just say, for example, it's totally fiction. Russian hackers believed to have crashed our complete net and financial system. And
well, that's like the end of the world.
Well, I mean, they could blame that on a Russian. I mean, wouldn't it be great to villainize?
Sure.
Your pick your bad guy of choice. Suddenly, they're responsible for the worst cyber attack in the history of the world, right? And all of a sudden, then what happens? How are you going to get your anything at that point? We're going to be crippled, and it'll be too late.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, like depending on how the election goes, I mean, China invading Taiwan. I mean, you think that's going to help trade?
Taiwan makes all the superconductors, so we know how that will go for the entire world.
So like literally, because we're such a global economy now, which is a good thing and a horrible thing too. Because again, we've put all our eggs in one basket. There's too many things.
We're interdependent. There's
too many things that we need from China. And yes, we could cut our nose off to spite our face, but what does that look like? How long does it take to get the infrastructure? And newsflash, nobody wants to work.
What? Explain yourself, Derek. What do you mean no one wants to work?
I mean, just look. I mean, everybody we talk to, it's just a cultural society. I don't know.
Video games.
Need Jordan Peterson on here. Yeah. I mean, people would rather stay at home and play video games or
pretend they're cats and dogs. Except in Springfield, Ohio, they're not pretending that there anymore. But I mean, you own your own business, and so you're always looking to hire. Why are you always looking to hire? Why is it a constant thing?
And we have a great group of guys here and gals. It's just things have changed. Used to, again, the way I was raised in the South, and I'm 40 years old. There's just things were just different then. I don't know.
Well, my father had 3 jobs at one time. Before I was born, it was in the early stage. I'm the youngest in the family, but I know that before I was born, he had 3 jobs at one time. Worked the night shift at the Chrysler factory or something, and did 2 or 3 other things. And my
there's
mom
no excuse. There's no excuse to live in America and not have the things you want. It's just right there. You just got to go get it. Right? No one's going to give it to you, unfortunately.
You're right.
But like the bar has never been lower. If you want to start a business, start a business. Like
and that could be a future heated discussion on entrepreneurship and how easy it is to start a business and kill it today and be a savage.
We live in a country that says, oh, you want to try to start a business, and if you absolutely fail, we have laws to protect you. They're not going to drag you off and put you in the paddy wagon and take you and put you under a jail cell. You can file bankruptcy. Yes, it's not a glorious thing, but if you look at some of the most successful people in our country, they filed bankruptcy multiple times. So again, we have an opportunity to do more than most ever get the chance to living in this country. I mean, let's face it, we live in the greatest nation on earth by far, and we've been extremely blessed. It's a gift. It's a blessing to have been born here. So like, what are you doing with the opportunity?
Well, you just got to have the want to, and just think about what you can go out and buy in the stores right now. You can get anything. I mean, sometimes I wonder, there was a moment in decades past where I was just looking at this conveyor belt of groceries we had. It was like $440 worth of groceries. I mean, when you fill up the conveyor at this thing that you can't, and you got to put the little divider with the next person. I mean, just this huge stack, and I just watched it go down with everything that we could want, and just like, wow. Are we going to look back on this someday and go, hey, trying to tell our grandchildren, no, you could seriously go to the store and they had everything, and you could get anything that you wanted. Any
kind of bread you wanted. You could get any kind of jam. You could get any kind of
types of bread. Can you imagine? I mean, if you just counted in the local store how many different types of bread or soup or whatever, you can just go get.
Well, the thing is now, on top of that, is then with inflation, but then we have hundreds of kinds of bread with hundreds of ingredients that you can't name or pronounce or. So what is even food? That's a whole nother.
Now, that's true. I will say on the flip side of that it seems like we're in an enlightened era with that, where you can go to just about any store, including the big box stores, and there's an eighth of it there is actually good. So it's a label saying that, like, wow, I don't know that in generations past we had this amount of junk food, like the Cheetos and Oreos and all that junk stuff. But it's almost like we do have the biggest choice ever of healthy food that you can just go to the store and get.
And people are waking up to that daily. I mean, daily we're realizing when the mainstream, again, is kind of the thing with Costco, is like, they're selling survival food. It's the same thing with this. All these things that used to be kind of conspiracy theory, or you're the weird guy because you don't eat processed food. Now it's like everybody's talking about it. And if you look at, some of the laws, like the United States is one of the few countries that even allow genetically modified, bioengineered, all the dyes. You go to other countries, they don't have those things.
No, right.
Horrible Russia, they don't have, I'm pretty sure, fact check me, Tristan, but they don't even have dyed foods and all that over there. So again, there's we live in the greatest nation on earth, but again, there's also some really backwards things here.
It's you got to be careful, but there's great choices if you want to look. Now, being a single guy, it's kind of funny. I bought some raw beets the other day, just organic beets, and because I like beets, but you got to like do stuff to them to get them to the point to you got to skin them and cook them.
Put them on a marinade, put them on a board. And
I don't know.
Throw it away and eat the board.
They're at this point they look like shriveled prune pits in there because they've been in there so like, oops, I couldn't get to that. So it just I just gravitate towards
fresh bread molds fast.
Convenient. So I found my niche of the keto friendly foods that are all natural, mostly all natural, but so at the same time, there's great choices to be had at the stores, but horrible choices. But again, where our topic is, get it while the getting's good. There's so much available right now, and prepare for when it might not all be there. When war settles on our shores, hopefully that never happens. But
it seems to be the topic, though. I mean, this is just becoming very mainstream.
A Russian ambassador said the other day, just to clarify, that if there's aggression from the U.S. on this, and that your territory will be hit. I think a Russian ambassador said that. So Tristan fact checked me on that. But I mean, like, Well, can it be any more clear than that?
Yeah.
That we just think that, I mean, normalcy bias is that, how everything has always been, it will always be until that day that it isn't
Until
anymore.
it's not. I mean, just even with AI, if things are moving so fast, my ADD. So you said that about the Russians. I saw a video yesterday where there was these two, I think they were Ukrainian soldiers. Dude, this is crazy. Essentially, the two Ukrainian soldiers, there's another drone or Reaper drone or something up top videoing, and this drone is trying to attack the guys, and they're shooting at it with a rifle. And they said that, I mean, when you really sit back, because it's playing over and over, you're thinking there's some 18-year-old kid, maybe 1,000 miles away, flying that drone in an air-conditioned building. These guys are out here, mud on their boots, trying to survive. And literally the guy they're shooting at, and they said that was a tactic now that, because all this is happening, the theater of war, right? They're testing these new drones. And the U.S. has these, what are like the swarm drones where it's like hundreds of drones. Dude, it's like a Terminator, straight up. So anyway,
Skynet.
the guy, they said that the tactic is they actually use the drone flying in circles around them just to wear them out. And they use up their thing, then they just fly it into them and blow them up. Well, the guy ends up throwing the gun, literally throws his gun. I don't know if he ran out of ammo, threw his gun at it and hit the drone that exploded. I mean, it's literally like something out of a sci-fi movie.
And you're saying that there's 18-year-old kids maybe operating this, but I mean, how far are they away from just programming to say, hey, these are the coordinates, take off and kill any moving thing inside those coordinates, and they just hover silently.
A guy I know the other day shot a deer, opening day of bow season in Missouri, shot a deer, shot a nice buck, and it went into a CRP field, tall grass, had a good blood trouble. It's just hard to find with tall grass, and ended up calling a neighbor who had a drone, and he flew the drone up with heat, not infrared.
Detecting.
Yeah, what is it? My mind just went blank. What's it called? Anyway,
Isn't it infrared? I don't know.
No, not infrared. Anyway, whatever. So anyway, he flies it up and he's like, there's your deer. So then it's like, you think, like, imagine in wars past, if an enemy had that technology. What if they had thousands of those? They could literally fly up and say, oh, there's somebody, heat signature.
Well, you're saying but the thing that I heard, is that whatever we're seeing, it's 20 years behind what they really have.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors of what we actually used in the Iraq war to get them to come out and the Iraqi soldiers to just start pouring out of their foxholes with white flags. There were some things that went on that never made the news, just technology that we won't go into here, but it was just far beyond anything that we're advertising right now that we have. And
well, again, it's like, I don't know what else has got to happen for just and like, we're included in this again, the whole frog thing. But we're talking, but how many, you can go on the internet and see like 50 different videos of UAPs, now they're calling them UFOs, that are flying past planes.
Are you really going to get into the UFO thing?
Yeah. And I'm saying people are talking about that, and it's like, yeah, no big deal. It's like if somebody told you right now, like, hey, what's next? I mean,
it's almost like they're going to start a big war and then have the aliens save us from all that, right?
Yeah. That's another conversation.
That's another heated discussion. What are aliens? What are UFOs? That would be fun.
That would be good.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned for that. So,
all right, man. Well, it's been fun this morning. I guess we better get off here because wood stoves don't clean themselves.
That's right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. See you next time.
Hey, Derek here. Thank you for watching the Heated Discussions podcast. Stay up to date with what's going on by hitting the subscribe button. And two, if you have anything you want to hear us talk about, just drop us a line or DM. And we really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks and have a great day.